It's Ravens week, Steelers fans, and I have a feeling that this game is going to determine a lot about the rest of this 2023 season for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and on today's show, I'm going to be previewing this Week 5 matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens before I get into my score prediction, keys to victory, all these different things, injury updates. Go ahead, do us a favor, click that subscribe button right now and join us live this week on the channel. Tomorrow, we're going to be going a little bit earlier tomorrow on our Steelers Talk live show, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central. So make sure you click that subscribe button. Join us tomorrow to talk some Steelers football. Probably do a little bit of bashing of the Baltimore Ravens as well. And then also make sure you join us on Sunday because we're going to be doing our Pittsburgh Steelers versus Baltimore Ravens watch party. An hour pregame followed by live play-by-play, post-game coverage, super chat giveaways, raffles, all this different stuff. It's going to be so much fun. We have the biggest Steelers watch parties on the YouTube platform right now, so make sure you click that subscribe button and turn on your notifications to kick it with your fellow Yinzers this week. All right, so now let's get into this Week 5 matchup here where, of course, the Ravens will travel to Acrisure Stadium here in Week 5. The Ravens are currently first place in the AFC North with a 3-1 record, just beat the Cleveland Browns last week pretty handedly, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting at 2-2, trying to get to 3-2 here before the bye in Week 6. Now let's take a look at what Baltimore has done so far this season. Of course, like I said, they're 3-1 to this point. They beat the Texans, who, let's just face it, man, the Steelers just played the Texans last week, and they just got the brakes beat off of them. The Ravens beat them 25-9, all right? Then you go to the Bengals game in Week 2. They beat them in overtime 27-24. Then they lost to the Colts. Gardner Minshew and the Colts in Week 3 at home 22-19. Then last week they absolutely trounced the Cleveland Browns 28-3 on the road. And now you're looking at the Ravens. Now they're 3-1. Of course, their head coach is John Harbaugh. The Ravens and Steelers, they definitely know each other well. But Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator here in Baltimore, has completely shifted what this Ravens team does offensively. They run a shotgun-based spread offense, lots of air raid concepts that you see in college. It's kind of like a college offense almost, but it's kind of modernized to be more of an NFL-style system. I think it fits Lamar Jackson, their quarterback, very well. And then on defense, they're going to be an attacking 3-4. They're going to be playing a lot of press, a lot of man coverage, lots of blitzing, so you have to watch out for the blitz. And whoever's quarterbacking for the Steelers this week, whether it's Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, or even Kenny Pickett, who's not been ruled out with that knee injury, they're going to have to really handle the pressure this week. And I think that George Pickens is going to have some nice opportunities down the field for one-on-one opportunities. Now let's take a look at the season stats for both of these matchups here. So let's take a look at the Steelers offense versus Ravens defense here. And it's really one of the worst offenses in the league versus one of the best defenses in the league. So this definitely isn't a matchup that works out well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just 15.5 points per game for Pittsburgh to this point, and the Ravens defense is giving up even less than that per game, which is really, really good. The Steelers offense has given up 5 turnovers. Ravens defense has created 5 turnovers as well. So overall, this doesn't look like a great matchup. Now we go to the other side here, the flip side with the Ravens offense. And the Steelers defense has definitely underperformed to this point in the season, giving up 25 points per game. And the Ravens offense is getting about the same there, 24.8. The turnovers for the Steelers has been nice, right, with that 8 turnover number. A lot of those came in the Raiders game in Week 3. So overall, you look at those numbers right there. I don't think that the numbers necessarily point in a positive direction for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into this week. And if you believe these stats, the stat line projection here is that the Ravens will win this football game 24-14. Now, I'm going to tell you why I don't necessarily think the Ravens are going to score that much in this game in just a second here. But also, man, I just think that the Ravens right now, just on paper, are the better football team. But in these AFC North division games, man, it is tough. These two teams know each other extremely well. They know their strengths and their weaknesses extremely well. It's extremely physical, and these games always come right down to the wire. Now let's get the latest injury updates, and the Ravens are dealing with a lot of injuries right now. Their starting left tackle, Ronnie Staley, is dealing with an injury. Marlon Humphrey, their number one corner. Odell Beckham Jr. Adafe Owe, a really talented edge rusher, is also injured for them. Marcus Williams, one of their starting safeties. Rashad Bateman, a wide receiver, is also dealing with an injury. Tyus Bowser, another one of their edge rushers. David Ojabo. So their top three edge rushers here on this Ravens team have some sort of injury that they're dealing with right now. Ojabo and J.K. Dobbins, who absolutely ripped up the Steelers last year, he's on injured reserve. He will not be a factor. And I think without Dobbins in the lineup for the Ravens in this game, it's going to be a little bit more of a different outcome for the Steelers and Ravens this year. And then also you look at the Steelers injury list now, and of course you got a bunch of different players. Cam Hayward, Deontay Johnson on IR, not going to be playing this week. Kenny Pickett had that knee injury. He's going to be practicing this week, depending on how he feels. He could be in the lineup this week as well. Pat Freiermuth is probably going to miss 2 to 3 weeks with a hamstring issue. James Daniels, Coach Mike Tomlin said in his press conference today that he's looking a lot better. He's questionable to play. Dan Moore Jr. is dealing with a knee. Presley Harvin III still dealing with that hamstring, and DeMarvin Leal is in concussion protocol. I would say he's probably not going to play because the NFL concussion protocol, at least right now, is pretty darn stringent. So coming up here, I'm going to tell you my 5 keys to victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers to knock off the Baltimore Ravens here in Week 5 and go into the bye week with a 3-2 record. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Steelers125 to get a 125% deposit bonus today on deposits of $100 to $600 on the BetUS website. Now, how does that work exactly? So let's say you put in a deposit of $100 on the BetUS website and you use Steelers125 as the promo code. What's going to happen is BetUS is going to give you 125% of that money back to you to use on your bet. So for a $100 deposit gets you $225 in value here. I think that's an absolutely fantastic deal if you love sports betting just like me. So go to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Steelers125 to get that 125% deposit bonus today. All right, so the first key to victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, in my opinion, is to stay disciplined on defense, specifically when it comes to containing Lamar Jackson, the Ravens quarterback. Now, you take a look at my scouting report here for Lamar, and he is a top 10 NFL starting quarterback in the league, in my opinion, right now. He's an elite rusher of the football. This offense does a really good job at getting him involved in the run game with designed quarterback runs. I think he's got really clean throwing mechanics. He's actually a lot more accurate. He's a lot better from the pocket and with his arm than he gets credit for, guys. He really does. He's got, of course, great playmaking instincts as well. Maybe not the best footwork or pocket presence as some of the truly elite of the elite in the National Football League, which can get him in trouble at times. But overall, he absolutely is a top 10 NFL starting quarterback, borderline top 5 in my opinion. However, he's not very good against the Steelers. The Steelers know how to really play well against Lamar Jackson throughout his career here. As you look at this right here, less than 60% completion percentage in his career versus the Steelers. His yards per game, just over 200. That's not too great either. And then that touchdown to interception ratio, he's got more interceptions against the Steelers than he has touchdowns in his career. So I definitely think TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, this Steelers unit can absolutely contain Lamar Jackson. And, you know, this offense has done pretty darn well to start this season. I think this might be their worst offensive effort of the season to this point. And the way that you do that is you really have to ramp up the pressure if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers on the defensive side of the ball. We saw last week versus the Texans what this Steelers defense looks like when they don't pressure the quarterback. It's very simple, guys, plain and simple. You need to pressure the quarterback to win football games and be successful on defense if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. With all the off coverage that Terrell Austin is using on the defensive side of the ball right now, you need to be able to get to the quarterback. Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt did not do that in Week 4, hence you give up 30 points, right? So you need to be able to get after the quarterback, make Lamar extremely uncomfortable. And listen, you got the two best players on your defense right now. One is TJ Watt, right, who's arguably the best defensive player on the planet right now. He's got 6 sacks, 13 total tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries to this point in the season. He's absolutely a fantastic specimen of a defensive player. He had an off week last week. I think George Fant really handled him well. in week 4. That's the Houston Texans right tackle. I really think this week he's going up against Morgan Moses, the Baltimore Ravens right tackle. I think he's going to absolutely eat, and I think he'll be a defensive X factor. And then the second best player on the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers, at least to this point in the season, has been Alex Highsmith. He's being graded as a top 10 edge rusher in the league right now. He's got 17 total tackles. I want to see more pass rushing production out of him. Only 1 sack through the first 4 games. I want to see him get involved and get at least 1 sack in this football game and put Lamar Jackson on his butt. Then the last defensive key to victory here is that you can't get punked in the run game like you did last season versus the Baltimore Ravens. Plain and simply, man, this team ran all over the Pittsburgh Steelers in that 16-14 win in Week 14 last year. And remember, Kenny Pickett wasn't in the game. Neither was Lamar Jackson. It was Tyler Huntley and Anthony Brown as their quarterback playing in that game. And the reason why the Ravens ended up winning that football game was because the Steelers, even though they knew the Ravens were going to run the football, J.K. Dobbins still got 120 yards and a touchdown. And Mitchell Trubisky threw 3 interceptions. Hopefully that doesn't happen this week either. But you definitely have to stop the run here with the Baltimore Ravens. You can't allow more than 150 rushing yards like they did back in Week 14 of last season. Now, like today's video, if you hate the Baltimore Ravens. I hate the Baltimore Ravens, man. These freaking ratbirds and their fans, they're always talking shit. They're always in the comment section, man. And listen, I want to beat the brakes off of the Baltimore Ravens this week. So make sure if you hate this team, man, if you hate their fans, go ahead, do me a favor. Click that like button right now. Right now, the key to victory, number 4. Limit the turnovers for Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. I don't care who starts at quarterback this week. You got to allow this defense to eat on the pass rush, and you have to limit the turnovers. Plain simply, I broke down the winning formula for the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, and it's pretty much this. If you don't turn over the football and the defense plays well, particularly on the pass rush, then the Pittsburgh Steelers win the football game. So I don't care if Kenny Pickett is able to play this week or not. I don't care who's under center. You got to protect the football. You can't lose the turnover battle in this game, or else it's going to be very difficult to come away with the victory. Now, I got one more key to victory to share with you guys here in just a second. But first, predict it for me down there in the comment section, or tell me who should start this week. Should the injured Kenny Pickett give it a go this week? Type KP. Should it be Mitchell Trubisky, the backup? Do you want to see what Mitch can do? Type MT. Or do you want Mason Rudolph, the third string, to be boosted up this depth chart here and get that first start of the season? Type MR if you think Rudy should get the start. Now, the last key to victory here for this Week 5 matchup is that Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, needs to change things up from a schematic point of view. Plain and simply, this Steelers offense needs a radical change to their scheme. There's a bunch of stuff that's just not working. These stupid jet sweeps, 4 verticals in the red zone, passing it on 4th and 1 when the run game is working, man. I mean, seriously, Matt Canada is absolutely, you guys know how I feel about Matt Canada. I think he's the worst offensive play caller in the National Football League today. And listen, I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I'm gonna be 100% keep it a stack with you right now. I wouldn't count on this key to victory to actually happen, right? I just don't think Matt Canada is actually going to change things up. I think that he's kind of arrogant in the way that he thinks that it's his offense and you have to fit players into his offense, and he's not going to change for anybody. Now, I don't know what Mike Tomlin is saying to him in the building. Tomlin said, hell yeah, we're making changes this week. I'm very interested to see what kind of changes they'll end up coming to fruition this week. Hopefully it ends up with some offensive success, because if it doesn't, and the Steelers score less than 10 points in this football game, I think this is Canada's last game as the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's been 3 years at this point. They have 0 games over 400 yards of offense, when the next lowest in the league over that span of time is 4. All right, the Steelers have 0. The next lowest has 4 out of all 32 teams in the National Football League. That is unacceptable. Only 2 games over 30 points, and one of those was a loss to the Bengals. So I'm fed up with Matt Canada, and if he doesn't show some major improvement and some major upgrades to his offensive scheme this week, I'm sending him out the door, and I'm saying don't hit the door, hit you on the ass on the way out. All right, now my Week 5 score prediction here. Unfortunately, I do think Matt Canada is going to once again disappoint us, And I think the defense is actually going to play pretty well in this one. I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be lighting it up. Just 20 points for this Ravens team that's averaging about 25. But I just think the Steelers, with how bad this offense has been playing, with how good the Ravens defense has been playing despite some pretty key injuries, I just feel like this is going to be another game where we're going to be watching it on Sunday, and we're going to say this offense just can't move the football. So I am going to predict that the Ravens win 20-7 this week. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope Matt Canada completely has an awesome game plan and they win this game by 20 points. But I just, at this point, man, based on what I've seen from this Pittsburgh Steelers offense led by Matt Canada, given that Kenny Pickett's hurt, all these different things, I'm just not too confident in this offense to score points, particularly against a really good Ravens team. Now, the bright side to losing 20-7 this week could potentially be we get Matt Canada's ass out of the city of Pittsburgh, man. He needs to go. I think that if you lose 20-7, I think Mike Tomlin will pretty much have no choice but to fire him at the bye. You get maybe a Glenn Thomas or a Sullivan in there as the new interim offensive coordinator. You give him 2 weeks to kind of prepare himself for the role, and then you see what you have in that new offensive coordinator for the rest of the season. So if you do end up losing 20-7, I think it'll be a good thing for the Steelers. And then also if you win, you're at 3-2, and it's also a good thing for the Steelers. So predict a score for me down there in the comments section. Steelers versus Ravens here in Week 5. At Acrisure Stadium. Give me your score prediction. For me, it's 27 Ravens. Unfortunately, I really hope that doesn't happen because I freaking hate these Ratbirds. But if it means we can get rid of Matt Canada, maybe it'll be worth it. And then also, if you want to see where we here at Chat Sports rank the Steelers on our NFL Power Rankings here after Week 4, heading into Week 5, we just put out our Power Rankings video here on our main YouTube channel, the Chat Sports main YouTube channel. So I'm going to put the link to that in the comments and description for any of you guys that are interested in that. And that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button for me right now and join us for our live show tomorrow, again at 3 p.m. Eastern, our watch party, 12 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. And then, hey, if they fire Matt Canada next week, we're going live and we are going to be partying it up. So if you want a place to kick it with your fellow Yinzers here during the 2023 season, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now.